got it. Okay.
Oh, cool.
So I just use, I'm not going to use the person's name. I use a person's corpus that I'm doing research with. And
Could we try it with 2 words, like to death?
Try with what? What do you want me to do with?
Could we do 2 words, like to death?
Choose.
Yeah. Is there 2 words that go with death that we could try it with?
Well, let's do another word then. Come up with another word that.
What's a highly correlated word with death? Scared to death. So maybe to death.
Oh, okay. So let me do this.
Awesome. Thank you.
Word sketch. Go. Let's see what happens here. Something went wrong. An error occurred low in the data. More details about the error. Nothing found for to death. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
And is this Nandini's corpus?
yes.
What is the topic? Remember?
Self-focused death, and then that's the target.
Okay.
And and then it's of immediate family versus focus on not something that's immediate to you.
Is it grief?
We could do grief. What can go with grief?
That's a tougher one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of others. We got death, grief. Oh, maybe like, does it do 3? Could we do grief and loss? Or is it only 2?
I don't know. Basic as a list. Let me try this. Ending with, containing, especially on large corporate and billions of words. From this list, starting with frequency.
Maybe we could do something like, how about protracted grief or something like that? That might be too specific, but
Yeah.
disenfranchised grief, protracted grief.
How about imminent death?
Okay.
I don't know how to spell imminent though.
I don't either. So I have a Word document open. Give me a second here. Imminent death. It's spelled IMM.
IMM. Okay.
IMMINENT. Yep. Try that one. Let's see what we get.
That wasn't even close if I had to spell it.
I wouldn't have got it either.
Now, if I do this thing.
That's really interesting. And so it looks like there's 4 occurrences in the.
Hold on. Why did. Let me do it again.
Okay.
Imminent.
Yep. Got it.
Oops. Go. Now here's the picture. Is this dot? You see these dots up here?
Okay. Where's your cursor at?
Right here. Do you see my cursor? I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I see it. I got it. Go ahead.
Right here. Show visualization.
Cool. Yes. Is it working?
Yeah, you're probably getting a lag.
Yeah, I'm seeing it like kind of coming together.
And there's other options I can do. I can drag down.
Oh, cool.
Show word circle, show more circles. Let me see what happens if I do more circles. Oh, circles within circles. Okay. I don't need more circles. It's making me dizzy. dynamic text size.
So it also says up on top, number of colocates 10. Can you make it more? See what that does for us.
Same angles. That's cool. Let's see what this one does. Oh, they're just making all the angles the same. We
Oh, I
don't
see
want
what you're saying. Yep.
we don't want same angles.
So is it in the middle? Is it, so is this imminent death? Because it shows on the right, verbs with imminent death, and or prepositional phrases. Because it's showing like verbs with death as subject,
Yeah,
prepositional phrases. And I'm gonna look at the manuscript and see which ones they did, just so that we can maybe copy it really quick. Give me 1 sec.
sure.
I'm pulling up the manuscript over on my other screen if I can find it. Okay, here they went and they did verbs, modifiers, and nouns. Is there those choices?
Verbs with
Yep.
imminent death and or prepositional phrases.
Are there
Show,
more options, or are those the main ones?
hold on a second. That with this, that's all you got. Now, if I just did death, there's a lot more.
Yeah, so I think what I'm guessing, Charles, is it's really smart, so it knows what type of things you could find for each of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Let's do death again then. I'm sorry, I brought us down this rabbit hole.
No, hey, that's the only way you learn, right?
It's true,
I'm-
100%.
All I'm doing is clicking buttons. Hold on a second.
Oh
Whoa.
wow, holy cow. Okay, so there's 637 occurrences as death as noun.
All right, I need to do the number of collocates and reduce that.
Yep, so you can bring, it's at 23 right now. You can bring it down to 10 maybe.
I gotta let this stop shaking though for a minute. I kind of like it that it's shaking.
It is.
I'm worried about Steve. Was he at the Belante meeting?
I'm not sure. I think he's had like just tons of family stuff going on, right? Like I can't remember if he was at the main meeting or not.
Let me reduce this. Let me see what happens. Oh, loom. Oh, death looming. Okay. Imminent. There's imminent death, by the way, there. See, that's why I think you just do one word and you see the ones that go with it, the collocates.
So yes, so what they did was they did PFA, but did they use, they just used PFA.
All right.
So one thing we have to think of from a methodological perspective is we're using 2 words. I guess we could try it and just see. It may not give us a ton of information though.
That's why I think you use one word, just like they did.
Yeah, so we could do like, it's our terms are all have the word culture. So maybe that's what we do, because they're cultural competency, cultural humility. And then there's 2 new words we were looking at.
Nursing.
Well, there was cultural, sorry, I can't, oh,
Well, one was nursing and
yep.
what was the other one?
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up really quick here. I have it. So the other 2 that we were looking at were cultural literacy and cultural responsiveness. So
Oh, okay.
all 4 of them have culture in the word. So
Right.
we could probably I wonder if we could do 4 images. I wonder if yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if you can choose what words cluster around it, or whether
Now, are they adding anything to the? It's just those eight texts.
So yeah, so what we're doing
Yeah,
is,
I'm confused. Wait, I'm confusing I'm confusing the two.
yeah, so right now it's Tang and I are working on, we've pulled out um cultural competency and cultural humility for nursing, social work, counseling, and psychology, but we may expand that to psychiatry. I'm not sure if we'll do that or not, but then we need to do, we need to pull a couple more. And then when I get that all together, and we're doing it by year. So 2019, 20, 21, and 22.
All right, so how do you want to do it through Sketch Engine then?
Yeah, so my thought was, and I don't know what your perspective is, I thought we would, for, ooh, that's really interesting. I was thinking just one of these guys, just like they did in their manuscript. Or we could do, oh man, this is where it gets a little tricky. Could we do the two words and see if that's detailed enough, like cultural humility, cultural competency, and we just do them all together, if that makes sense? Just to show what words cluster around them. But it may not be as good as like what you're suggesting, just using culture, for example.
Yeah. And I would do it as a lemma. So I would do culture, cut it. So cultural, want to do it as a lemma.
Yeah,
Uh,
so once we get the data, we'll have to come back and think about that. My concern is I don't want to use up a lot of your words, so we have to think about a strategy that won't do that.
um, yeah, I think I have like 2 million words left. But it's not that much. It's just annoying that you have to pay for words. But I mean, I get it, and you can't delete. And I was stupid. I had some corporate here that I deleted, but they still count the words. Um,
Yeah, and can we do one more experiment with this? I'm
sure,
noticing that of death is kind of a highly correlated one. Could you put those two together and see what comes up?
sure. Hold on a second. Death. Here's death as after death. Of death. You're
Yeah,
saying?
that one looks like it's the biggest one on the screen. So I'm wondering if
What
we
happens if
could,
I click on it?
yeah, click on it and see what happens.
Nothing. With death, about death, death from, death of, impending. And you just want to do of death. So let
Yeah,
me.
let's try that two together, and then that maybe gives us a clue about what cultural competence, cultural humility, cultural literacy, what those might look like if we use Sketch Engine.
Yeah. Now, how do I redo this? Let me go back to the dashboard. I want to start from the beginning. Let me see what happens because I don't I'm just okay. Words. Let me do this then. Search. Let's see what happens here.
Love it. Cool.
Something went wrong. An error occurred by close. More details about the error. Nothing found for of death.
Hmm.
That's not true.
Yeah, so I wonder, do you have to choose the corpus or is Nandini's the only one in there?
I got corporate. I have the reference corporate, but we just saw. Let me go to advanced. Let me see.
Okay.
Subcorpus, none the whole group. Auto minimum score. Text types. Automatic. Parts of speech. Nothing found for of death. How about as a list? Ending with. Let's see this.
Okay, cool.
Ending with death. Let's see what happens. I say I can't. I can't make, it's not giving me an option to draw the picture though. I don't have the dots there to make the
Yeah.
picture. Life, okay.
It's kind of cool though. It shows all the collocations and the frequency per million.
Yeah. Everything is done, seems to be done per million.
Is that for
Let
the
me-
reference corpus or is that for Nandini's? It says
That's,
target.
yeah, that's her target corpus.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let me go back to word sketch. I just go to here, go to basic. Let me try cancer.
Okay. Maybe that'll give us one and then we can try another one. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it really does. Oh, it automatically kind of gives you the categories.
Yeah. You can add and subtract, like you said.
This is a super cool tool. So it has modify, they're looking for modifier of cancer, nouns modified by cancer, verbs, prepositional phrases. Interesting. Okay. So one we would think that we could do another one, buddy, would be ovarian cancer, right? Those two seem to be really, am I reading that right?
Yeah. Now you have a lot more choices here.
Yeah, lots of them.
Let me move it. Let me just get rid of our picture, take up too much space. I know what you look like, you know what I look like. Um, cancer and or let me
Oh,
do
can you
this
turn
one.
those on? Interesting. Oh, cool.
Now you have a whole lot of choices here, a whole lot of drop down choices.
Is it
We don't
still
know.
working in the background? That is wild.
Yeah.
So it seems like this, for example, has way too much noise. We would have to turn off some of these. So we'd have to figure out which ones we thought were interesting.
Um,
Because I'm looking at Cass's. He has one, two, three. He has four things turned on for the one he did. So I think those the ones on the bottom we leave on, right? Or wow.
oh, hold on. What did I just do? Separate relations.
Oh, that's wild.
Oh, that's interesting. Show. Let me go back. Main word outside or in the promotional. Modifiers of cancer, nouns, verbs of cancer,
Yeah,
cancer,
could you turn off maybe one of those and see what it looks like?
cancer and or.
Yeah, let's turn that one off and just see what the four looks like. So that's way less busy. And then I'm kind of curious what would happen if you went from 10 collocates to 5 and see how busy it looks.
I was just gonna do that. That's 7.
Because this is probably what we're going to want to do, exactly this. Can you go down just a little bit more and see what it looks like? And I'm gonna actually look at his methodology section and see what he did.
There you go. That's your 5. That's 5.
Okay, that's really clean looking.
Yeah.
So then my guess would be, could we try it one more time doing the exact same thing, except for doing it with ovarian cancer and see if we can do two words together?
Yeah, let me see what happens here. What does these dots do?
And I'm just reading his manuscript to see if he put any specifiers about what he did. Yeah, he doesn't overtly in the manuscript point to what he did in terms of the parameters. Wait a minute. Yes, he did. So he put in the categories. Okay, so he did 5 words. He did 5 words. Bingo. So now we know exactly what his parameters were.
He did 5 words.
Yeah, but you know how we went down to 7? I think we went down to 5. That's what he did.
Right. Okay.
5 collocations.
Yeah, but he just did 1 word. So
That's correct. You are
I think he
exactly.
can only do 1 word.
It can only do 1, you said?
Yeah.
So it doesn't do ovarian cancer?
Bring this down to 5 words. Well, that was 4. Hold on, get 1 more. So that's pretty clean.
Yeah, so that's exactly what he did. So you don't think there would be a way to do 2 words?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask him?
Of course, I want to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right, but I might just ask him, or I might ask him how he would think about that.
Yeah.
Because we really want to, my hope would be, so here's where it gets messy, Charles. Help me think through this. So I guess, oh, I know what we could do. Okay. So we could just we would do 4, okay? And what we would do is take all of the abstracts that have cultural humility in them and do culture as the node word, and then we'd find humility. We do cultural competence all together. Cultural is the node word, competence. And then what were the other 2? I keep forgetting. I can never remember them. The other 2 are cultural literacy and cultural
Literally.
responsiveness. So we could do all 4 years clustered together, culture the main word, the other one is the other word we're noticing. I think that would be the way to do it. What do
Yeah,
you think?
absolutely. I agree 100%.
So unfortunately, we will have to have 4 images, but we'll do the exact same since we know how to, thank you for figuring this out. Since you know how to do it, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 for each word. Bam.
Yeah.
Yay. Go team.
I just played around. Last night I said, I want to get some prep work for today's meeting. So I just played around right before I went to bed. And I didn't look up anything. I just, I don't know. I forget what I did. I just did.
Yeah. Do you mind if I share my screen with you?
Yeah. Let me stop share. Hold on.
And then I'm going to stop recording here in just 1 second, maybe. Let's see, sharing my screen. So as you can see in the PFA article they did, we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look here in the manuscript, he just says the usage of PFA, like you said, they used 1 word. And then here are each of them, A, B, C, and D. Do you see that? So
Accounts per 10,000. I thought there were counts per million.
So yeah, I mean, whatever you use is what we're going to use.
Regarding question 3, race diversity, age rate was only 6.1 per 10,000 counts. I'm curious as to why they did 10,000 when SketchUp does everything with a million. Very curious. I mean, I can convert everything to 10,000. I mean, that's not a. It's not. It's you just take their million number
Divided
and
by
divide it
10.
by, divide it by 100.
It's 100, not 10. See, that's why we have you as the math guy. So just divide it by 100 and we could have it per, because I think maybe the 10,000 is like the industry standard, or sorry, the literature standard.
Maybe.
Okay, awesome. So is it okay if I show you the manuscript really quick? And I just have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. That was fantastic. I think this manuscript's going to be really great.
I think what Tang did is terrific. It just boggles my mind that we can write that, and they're not these qualitative studies. There's a teacher friend of mine, and we still stay in touch. And she has a daughter who's getting her PhD, also in schoolwork, and she has subjects do some work just similar to what Christina was doing. But it's a qualitative study. I don't understand that. I offered to help her do, like the daughter is very, very stubborn, very like the smartest girl in the room kind of person. And I said, okay.
Okay.
All right. The field of counseling psychology and the field.
So we might add psychiatry as one area for searching. And I'm gonna talk to Tang about that and see what he thinks. I think he's the expert, so I want to not like jump into areas that he doesn't want to do.
Change field singular to plural, by the way. Fields.
Thank you for catching that. So and then we may change this to add the other words that we were discussing: cultural literacy and cultural responsiveness. We may not do that if so I don't know if these two terms show up enough in the literature. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So for us to do a time sequence with those terms, if they're not used enough, what do you think? Because we know cultural competency and cultural humility are common in the literature, but cultural literacy and cultural responsiveness are newer words. Do you think, in your opinion, or maybe we just try and look, does that seem like a good strategy?
Yeah, it's no big deal to try. And also at the end of in the discussion section, you may want to mention that.
Okay, love it. Okay, so then my question is, I went and I trimmed up the research questions. I just wanted you to look at them really quick. Do you want me to make this bigger?
Yeah, because the old man is really blind.
They are.
What are usage rates of coaching from in counseling or in social literature? Null hypothesis: when academic coaching from usage rate terms did not change. I like how you wrote that.
I knew you would.
That's beautiful. Like my heart is beating. Within academic circle, abstract potentially impacted by the currents did change. Do we want to put in potentially impacted by the current slow and social awareness and shifts?
Yeah, I probably won't put that there. I might just put that in a discussion.
Right. Yeah, but in terms of statistics, it shouldn't be there.
Okay.
Keep scrolling down. I love this.
Do we want to say what direction, or do we just want to say did change?
You have to say, you can't put direction down. When you do a hypothesis test, you can't. We don't know. All right. You can't. Here's a perfect example. Titleist golf balls. They'll say has an average driving distance of blah 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 number of yards. We made a new version of this. So the null hypothesis is that the average distance doesn't change, And then the alternate hypothesis should be all the average distance changes, because you don't know what the change is going to be. I don't know if that's a good enough example, but that's what
That's
I'm.
right. That's right. No, that's a great example because you don't know if it's going to fly farther or fly
Right,
less
right.
based on the
You can't.
dimples, the hardness of the shell. You don't know how those changes will impact the flight. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome. How about this one? So this is the one that's in relation to the word cluster.
How are words, culture, commonly used in academic discourse, counseling, social work from that? See, beautiful,
Okay.
beautiful.
Okay. Moving on. And so let's see, what did I do? So I've just been working through this. I did a couple of hours yesterday. Oh, we're not going to use lengths box, are we? So I got to remember that. Or are we going to use, how are we going to, I was going to ask you that. Is there a way that we're going to be able to look, are we going to use the trend lines from like the Web of Science, or does lengths box have a way to look at word changes over time? It's just basic descriptive statistics, right?
Yeah, hold on.
So we're just looking at ratios over time. So that would be like, so we're looking at relative frequency over time, not absolute frequency. And that would be descriptive statistics.
The authors use.
So here's the sketch engine for research question 2, but it looks like they used lengths box for research question number 1. I guess you could just put in the stuff and it would give you the absolute values, or I'm sorry, the relative ratios.
Who? When? See,
We would use lengths box X.
yeah. Now, what's this referring to? The authors use.
So that's for research question 1, which is looking at, let me go back to it really quick. The usage rate. So I'm guessing that Cass and Chung Fan and Rob used lengths box to figure out the usage rates of the terms.
Who's Rob?
Rob is a guy in the group you don't know yet. But they only had one word, which was PFA, if that makes sense. So that might be a little bit trickier because we're looking at 2 words. But I guess another tool we could use is just use the Web of Science tool, because it gave us a trend line.
I'm just not familiar with that, but yeah.
And wasn't there one other tool that I gave you and or Cass gave us? I'm trying to remember that other tool. We could like just put in the words and it would look it up for us. I forget what that was. But anyway, so one of the things we have to figure out, it looks like, is how do we get the relative frequency of these terms with 2 words over time? That's one of the, and it might be lengths box X might be able to do that, or we might have to use a different tool.
Or maybe they'll use it in Microsoft Excel. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that would work too. I'm trying to think. So let me show you something really quick here. I'll go here. I'm going to go to shared drives. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
You see me clicking around?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go in here. So I'm going to go in here. Let's see if I can find this. Is it in here? No, these are our TXT files. Okay, here are the cultural comp analyzed results. Is this it? Yes. So, okay, wait a minute here. So this is,
I see that. That chart.
I I don't know if there's a chart in this one. So this gives us the, let me show you one other thing here. I think is it this one? See this?
The
Yes.
most,
So this is here's what we found from Web of Science. So cultural competence, you can see here. And then we can see it over time.
I could do that in R.
We could do it in R.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, that would be fine too. So we just need some way to find the relative frequency of these terms over the 4 years. And this is which one? Cultural competence. That's really interesting.
Now, what is this from?
So this just comes right out of the Web of Science, which is the search engine. I'm gonna look at this one really quick for you. So these are right out of the search engine itself. As you can see, both cultural humility and cultural competence are going up. They both look like they go down in 2023, but that's because things
Right.
haven't been published yet.
Right. I think they should just stop. Well, I think when we publish the article, we should not put in 2023 in.
That's right. We're not going to. I totally agree with you.
Because it just looks confusing.
But I think it would be okay to even just say in the article that we see a trend of both of them going up. But my question is, does this consider relative frequency, or is this just absolute frequency? Because we're seeing a trend going up, but this doesn't take into effect the quantity of articles. Is that right?
Hold on. It's just saying citations,
Yep.
publications.
So in this one, there's 905. Let me look at the other one. So we've got 905 publications total, right? From these dates. I want to see what the total is for the cultural competence one really quick. So that would be this one. Okay, so you see the difference?
Yeah. From 900 to 6,000.
So it would be interesting in our article to show that the trend line are going up. Is there a way to show the magnitude of the increase? And does that make sense? Like, we notice that both cultural humility and cultural competence are increasing, but cultural competence, we had 905 citations to 6,000, right? So maybe
Right.
we could show a difference in increase over time, and maybe that's interesting.
You can do a rate per publication if you want, citing articles.
So there were 6,728 publications that had cultural competence in them. Cultural humility was 905, and they were both increasing. But it seems like you could draw the conclusion that cultural competence is a more frequently used term based on the number of publications that use that word.
Now, did you download Web of Science? I mean, how'd you get this? I mean,
Yeah, so this is just from our search.
no, but the Web of Science, you just downloaded it itself.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that is like, it's the most like robust search engine. It's like PubMed, if that makes sense, or PsycArchive or PsycArchive. It's purely a way to pull manuscripts out of it's based out of a library. So OSU has it, UNO has it. It's just a search engine, if that makes sense.
So how do I get it?
You'd have to have academic, you'd have to be, Rutgers would have to give you access to their version of Web of Science.
They have something different.
But yeah, this is kind of the, let's see, we got here publications. So you see the publications per year. Oh, interesting. Okay, so
While you're doing that, I want to try something. Web of Science. Log in. Let me see if I can create an account. Register for your free Web of Science profile. Claim your place in the world's most trusted.
so do you want, I can ask Cass how he did it. I mean, I think that's going to be helpful because if we can just use links box, I think we should. I'm going to go back to the manuscript really quick.
Well, I have something from Rutgers here. Sign in to continue Web of Science. I created a password and everything. Don't remember having done this, but let me see what happens when I sign in. I did it through my Rutgers email. Roaming access expiration notice.
So let me show you this really quick, Charles. It looks like what they did was super simple.
Hold
So
on, let me go back to you.
okay. So do you see the data analysis?
Yeah.
It says this study will report the raw and normalized count for the term and the acronym. So that was psychological first aid and then PFA per 10,000 words. So you see that up here? Let me go up here. The study will report the raw and normalized counts for the term and the acronym. The normalized count is the rate per 10,000 words. So they had only two, right? They had pre-pandemic and then pandemic. And then it says, yeah, I mean, literally, this is the entire sentence. Did you see that? It's
Yeah.
literally, this study will report the raw and normalized counts for the term and the acronym for 10,000 words. This normalization method allows for counts in works of different lengths to be compared in a meaningful fashion. That's it. So I'm guessing they just threw it into lengths box 6.0 and compared the change in relative frequency over time. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
So it looks pretty simple.
Those are my next words.
So normalized count per, so we could do that, right, on a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then I would just need to make sure that Tang and I, so yeah, we could use something even as simple as ANCOC, right? We could put it in ANCOC, but we need to be able to search for 2 words, right?
Yeah, Hancock can only do one.
And lengths box only 1.
Yeah.
So how could we do it manually? Through R, maybe?
I'll have to see, but
Or I guess what we do is we just use the Web of Science, right? Because we could literally, Tang and I could just figure out, like it said, how many times it showed up versus the number of publication for that year. That's what we need, right?
mm-hmm.
And then we could use a spreadsheet to get normalized frequencies.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't need to be rocket science.
Yes, that seems like the easiest way to do this. So I'll talk to Tang about that. So what we need to do is take each of our corpuses and figure out how many times a word occurs within the number of total words of that year. Put it in a spreadsheet and then give it to you. Or because you can use like, you could just create a formula, right? In
Yeah.
Excel.
Hmm.
I think that would be super simple.
By the way, Sketch Engine uses log dice to create this.
It does?
Yeah.
To create the trend lines?
No, to do the to do that circle.
The circle. Okay, that's a log dice.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay, so the next steps, I'm going to stop recording, or actually I'll keep it going. So it looks like the next step is that Tang and I have to get our act together to get the data. And then once we get that collected, we can start working on figuring out this normalized count of the words.
Hmm.
Does that sound like the right steps?
Hmm. It's pretty basic.
Okay, and then what we need to do then on the second research question, we just need to be sure, and we'll have the 4 corpuses, and then we just put them in, and then we do exactly what we did today, and we'll have the 4.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.